Alright, let's take a look at our glass. There are two main differences in the glass that you'll find in stained glass art. You'll notice that the glass on the left is translucent, which you can see through it, and this is called cathedral glass. It's also monochromatic and it's just one color. The other glass on the right is opaque, which you cannot see through it, and this is called opalescent glass. Of course, there could be mixes of the two types, but mainly this is what you'll find out there. This first tool we have is a glass cutter, essential to cutting our glass into shape. I've got the most basic cutter with a cutting wheel to score lines in the glass when we run it through the surface. The other types have an oil reservoir and a carbide wheel, which I might upgrade to. This next tool is called running pliers. It is used to run the score on the glass and assist in breaking the glass at that score line. Its main features are the curved jaws that help push down the glass on both sides of the score line to break it. This is a pretty simple tool that's specific to breaking glass, so don't just use any old pliers. This next tool may look similar, but it definitely has a different purpose. This is called grossing pliers or breaking pliers, and it is used for chomping or nibbling away glass to help correct your piece after the cut or to take out difficult curves. You can also use it to help break out scores that are too small to break with running pliers. And this is the glass grinder. The spinning diamond head bit helps remove jagged and imperfect edges on the glass to keep our pieces within our pattern. The sponge absorbs the water coolant mixture from the bay, which transfers to the bit and acts as a lubricant and keeps the bit and glass cool as we're grinding. Now, if you're not ready to buy a grinder just yet, since this is the most expensive item on this list, you can also try Craigslist like I did or find it used elsewhere. But the cheaper alternative is possible with a carborundum stone. You use it like a file and it also helps remove jagged glass. However, it won't be as efficient as the grinder, but could help for smaller projects. After the glass pieces have been ground, we use copper foil and tape it around the edges of each piece. The copper foil is for the solder to flow onto to help join the pieces. You can see that there are varieties of backing color to match your finished work if you want. I'm mainly using a silver backing and a 7/32 in width for beginner projects. A fit is helpful to burnish foil onto the edges of the glass, which is to say to smooth the copper foil onto the glass for better soldering lines. I use a small wooden stick, but you can use just about anything. Maybe I'll try getting a fit at some point. Next we have solder. This is solder for stained glass and is a 60-40 type, 60% tin and 40% lead. This is a good combination for beginners as it has a low melting point to help rework, fix, and get a nice bead on the solder lines. It does contain lead, so wash your hands thoroughly after handling or wear gloves. This is what's called flux. Flux is used to flow solder onto the copper foil so it sticks to it. I'm using liquid flux and it seems to work well. Others like the gel form, but I've yet to try it. Use a brush to help spread the flux onto the copper foil and solder. Our next item is the soldering iron. This tip heats up and melts the solder into a liquid form so it flows onto the copper foil. I'm also using a 1/4" tip for most of my work. The stand is for the soldering iron to rest on while doing the soldering job, and the wet sponge keeps the tip clean. This soldering station is a discontinued Hakko 936 model I got years ago. You can vary temperature, which is really nice. It is a 65 watts unit and has worked fine for all my stained glass work. Others recommend getting 100 watts iron for bigger projects, so a minimum of 65 watts is what I would suggest. Alright, so that's it. That's what I started with, and you can do stained glass just fine with these items. But here are some additional items that you may want to add and will help complete your work. This Homasote board is a heat-resistant working surface recommended for stained glass work, so you can solder on it without worrying about ruining your tabletop. You can also get a layout block system to hold your pieces together while soldering and use the push pins directly on the Homasote board to hold everything in place. I don't have this yet, but will probably get them soon. This is black patina to change the color of your silver solder lines to black. There's also copper patina to turn the color copper. It's good to clean your stained glass piece well after soldering. Fine steel wool helps remove all the leftover flux, and a good polished wax compound keeps it bright and shiny. You'll probably want to hang your piece afterwards, so getting hanging rings is a good idea. Just solder them on to the top and hang with a chain, monofilament, leather, or rope. Suction cups are great too.